Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the recap of Stage 7 of the Tour de France 2025. We'll be talking about the Tour de France 2025 game shortly. Today's stage has 2,000 meters of climbing across about 200 kilometers from Saint-Malo to the Mur de Bretagne, Gueule-les-Dains. And the main attraction of the day is a hill zone in the final 20 kilometers. It begins with a Category 4 on the village of the Mur de Bretagne, which is about 1,500 meters at 4%. Then there's the Mur de Bretagne itself, 2K, 7%. That's where the stage finishes. On top of there, a short descent, and then another 1,400 meter, 5% climb, and then a false flat downhill where it's really, really hard to anticipate. For quite a while, actually, the stage really re-entered a holding phase in that 10Ks, and then they go up the climb again. Van der Poel won this stage in 2021 on stage 2. Jumping away. Viamoz won jumping away. We haven't had a sprint for a while. And what did you expect before the day, Benji? We both thought UAE would control, but did you think other teams would?
Well, if I look at this race, yesterday in the podcast, we basically previewed Pogačar is the favorite if the pelotons goes to Mur de Bretagne. Pogačar will destroy everybody on Mur de Bretagne if the peloton reaches there. That doesn't mean he's got a 100% chance of winning. That means that very likely he's going to be the winner. Even against Mathieu van der Poel, because UAE's got a lead out that can literally melt Mr. Mathieu van der Poel on this final climb, especially also with the second last climb. Next to that, we saw yesterday's strategy of Visma Lease bike that was trying to make the race as hard as possible in the last 10 kilometers. We kind of expected that to be the case again in the last 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers of today's stage. Now, if we then look at the rest of the teams, I'm thinking, okay, Visma tried to go in the breakaway yesterday for the stage win. Today, wouldn't shock me if that happens again. Alpecin, that's the wild card. Because on paper, you'd say, Mathieu van der Poel in the yellow jersey, if he goes to the finish line, he's most likely not going to beat Tadej Pogačar here. I just saw no chance of doing that in the way it's going to be ridden in 2025 by GC teams. And yes, he could try from the peloton, but on the other side, he could also try from the breakaway. He's in the yellow jersey, though. So will UAE allow Mathieu van der Poel, who will lose 20 minutes in the mountains, to go in the breakaway here, maybe take another 3 minutes, etc.? I don't know. Well, especially when UAE wants to win the stage.
That's the thing. UAE don't want the break to win, full stop. But yeah, Alpecin's ride today, I have to say, is really perplexing. Because...
Naive?
Nah, I think it's just like the Rudolph network.
What does that even mean? You've said that twice on the podcast now. What does that mean?
Van der Poel gets San Remo, Pogačar gets Flanders, Van der Poel gets Roubaix, and then week 1 stages.
Pogačar tried to win Milano San Remo. Didn't work out for the boy. Mathieu was better.
Van der Poel made Pogačar win Flanders. So
I also don't necessarily agree there.
He helped him though. What was I saying? No, so here... When Alpecin said last night, we're going for the green jersey, I thought then they should control the stage because you have an intermediate sprint. It's far enough away from the first climb. It's 40 Ks. You have an hour of recovery, 45 minutes of recovery after the sprint. Secondly, you don't have to win the sprint. There's 2 sprinters left actually sprinting at the intermediate sprints. It's Jonathan Milan and Biniam Girmay. To come third for Van der Poel, you just have to warm up a little bit accelerating. I know it's on a hill, but still, for him, he could tolerate it fine. Going for green also means you need to take a delta on Pogačar. Pogačar will not contest the intermediate sprint. And going for green also means that, okay, let's say they think, to take your point, which I agree with, I make it, me and you have a different maths. Let's say internally they have 80-20. Pog beats him 80% on the finish. Van der Poel has got a very good chance of top 5. This is a 50-point stage, a 50-point green jersey stage. Then you go for the intermediate and you try and get the best result possible, and then you could end up with expected case 50 points. Now, where me and you were looking at it is, I'm looking at it like he's going to get just completely killed on the steep uphill, and there's no time to come back. Secondly, we'll get to the break in a second, but I'll finish the point. Van der Poel doesn't contest the intermediate sprint. And there it kind of loses me, because if you think you have the legs to win from the breakaway, if you think you have the legs to win from the peloton,
then
you definitely have the legs to win from the breakaway, And then in the breakaway, like Alpecin were doing 80%, 70% of the controlling. And definitely there, if you want to pick two teams for controlling on the flat in northern France, I'll take Jonas Ricard and Gianni Vermeersch over Marc Soler.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, I feel like Alpecin as a team might want Mathieu van der Poel to go for green, but I've seen no indication in the interviews and the way he's writing and the way he's talking about it that Mathieu van der Poel himself wants to go through the effort of going for green. Not necessarily because he's lazy to go through the effort, but because he doesn't want to go for his 50-point sprints in an absolute sprint stage. He wants to do what he wants. He wants to hunt the stages he wants, stuff like that. And I think that's what he wants to do. So I don't believe Mathieu van der Poel can win green because I don't believe Mathieu van der Poel wants to compete for green.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think the team is thinking, listen, mathematically, you've just got to take some points in these punchy stages. We've got Toulouse on stage 11 next Wednesday. You've got to just follow at the intermediates. You don't even have to sprint at the intermediates. You just got to roll along with Anthony Turgis and take 10 points. And I think Van der Poel's thinking, if I get close, then they're also going to make me sprint in the 50-point bunch sprints tomorrow and on Saturday and Sunday, because then you can't go for Groves if you're going for green.
But also after yesterday's stage, Mathieu van der Poel was completely cooked from that breakaway effort. If he then goes for the intermediate sprint as well today, and he also goes for the final of the stage...
Yeah, but they controlled.
Then going for the intermediate sprint will reduce his chances for the finish of today's stage on paper. But there's a difference between trying to outsprint Biniam and Milan at the intermediate sprint, which Van der Poel will never do, or trying to roll over the line and take 3 points here, 4 or 5 points there with Turgis and so forth. So, yes, maybe he could have done that, but I just don't think Mathieu van der Poel cares at all about the green jersey.
I think you're right. I think it's the team wanting it, and then I think today they wanted to repay Pogačar for letting the break win yesterday and taking yellow. It was also a little bit a part of it. But, because, yeah, to not go for the green points, to control the break, and then get cooked in the finish.
I don't mind Alpecin trying to go for the stage today, even though I personally don't believe in it.
Yeah.
For the reason that...
He won on this finish before.
Also, Philipsen was their other objective in the sprint stages. Groves is now their secondary objective in the sprint stage that are upcoming, but if you look at that, Groves is not the top sprinter. No. So they don't need to take up the responsibility of controlling the sprint stages.
Trek.
So they might as well put Sylvain Dilly at the front today. What else is he going to do in the next 3 days?
You're right. In that sense, they got some work to do. They're not going to have to work as hard tomorrow, Dillier, so you're 100% right. So I can understand it. Also, honor the yellow jersey, etc. So the break formation, it did last quite a while. It was maybe not as furious as yesterday because it was flatter. It was a bit of a cross tailwind in parts. EF were very, very active. I want to give more credits to EF Education Easy Posts. You know, if you try this hard to get in every break on a possible break stage with the right riders in your team, sometimes the break will win and you can play for the stage win, but you have to be in it. And they got in it again with Alex Baudin, Geraint Thomas for Ineos, Costu, Garcia Cortina Haller. Visma tried and failed to get in. I think Van Aert and Campenaerts were the main two trying, but they were marked by Alpecin and Wellens.
To me, it felt like Wout van Aert was allowed to go in the breakaway, actually, because Wellens did not respond to Wout in break formation. It was the neutralization of the other teams attacking again that ended up controlling Wout, and there were also moments where Wout just went on moments where I was like...
Or twice.
This is not the moment to go. Yeah. But Wellens was actively responding to Mathieu van der Poel, so it felt like Alpecin was playing the two games. Maybe let's try and control it. If we can't control it, then Mathieu van der Poel with 140, 150 kilometers to go started jumping himself because it was like, this is going to be a breakaway day.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get in the breakaway. It also doesn't seem to be a breakaway day because the breakaway that does end up forming is suddenly 5 riders go off the front. Alex Baudin, Geraint Thomas, Ewan Costu. Who's that, my friend?
The little red fire truck.
Ivan Garcia Cortina and Marco Haller. So a group of 5 riders up the road and immediately a pretty solid gap of 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. In the background, we see a bit of a blockage happening at the front of the peloton. The teams that are in the breakaway are at the front to try and make sure nobody else attacks towards it, which that's actually counterproductive because a 5-man breakaway ain't going to win today if UAE decides to control it.
Yeah.
So UAE blocking the peloton is a logical solution, but those teams in the breakaway blocking it, it's a logical thought process of, okay, our riders up the road, we got to make sure this break goes. But at the end of the day, by concluding it, the break formation there, 5 riders only, dooms the breakaway. I had 0% belief this breakaway would make it from the second it was formed, because UAE was going to control this stage. And we see that immediately because it takes a split second for Mr. Marc Soler to go into his... What would you describe the riding style of Marc Soler? The way he sits on the bike and the way he pulls himself on the bike? Because we've got Mineworker Pogi. Is there something like that for Marc Soler?
Soler has just been so good in this break formation phase. It's doing so much work. I don't know. He gets in and out of the drops. He's sprinting. He's reacting. He's doing what Marc Soler needs to do. It's like
Wellens too.
Wellens and Soler, they've been really, really good. And then Pollitt's the one they used to actually control the stage afterwards. But yeah, like, why are Bora not trying to go in, Benji? I mean, Van Gils should have been here. And then Van Gils from the breakaway.
Well, he's not.
Why is Tom Schoens locked in a prison for Schelmoser to come 12th?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Benji, yeah, explain. Yeah,
okay, I'll explain it.
Schelmoser's already been complaining about lack of support.
I'm Little Trek. Schelmoser, opportunity for the white jersey against an Remco Evenepoel is going to be difficult. Let's be honest about it. He's also trying to go for GC, top 10, etc. He's got Thibaut Naesen in the team. Hasn't looked good for the last week. Crashed on, I think, stage 1. So that's influential to the lack of form that we see at the moment. So Thibaut Naesen, card off the table. I would expect Quinn Simmons, Tom Squins in the breakaway today in the same fashion that they tried yesterday. And I think it's a very, I don't know, it's a very one-focused strategy on a GC rider that is at best, a fringe top 5 GC rider.
I'm not even sure it's that. I think it's like UAE and Alpecin have said at the start, we're going to control the stage.
And they didn't believe in it.
And then they're like, oh, well, they said they're going to control the stage. It's like, well, you can also have a race, and probably you will be caught. Probably. But if the break is...
Or actually, is there an alternative look at it where they believe the more points available at the intermediate sprint, the more points Milan can take?
Oh, you make a fair point there. Anyway, the break wasn't going to make it. We're talking a lot about break formation, but it's interesting to see the different attitudes of the teams. Visma don't get in. They spend 2 bullets of Campenaerts and Van Aert again, but it doesn't work out, and UAE have it completely under control. And if you want to be in control of the Tour de France 2025, and you're ready to take on the roads, the official Tour de France 2025 game is here, and it's entering a whole new era. It's got a brand new game engine called the Unreal Engine 5, new lighting, reworked environments, ultra-realistic gameplays, the most immersive tour experience yet on both console and PC. You can choose your rider. We got Pogačar fans, we've got Vingegaard fans, we've got Little Red Fire Truck fans, anyone from the World Tour peloton, and you can compete across iconic races these notes are incorrect. They don't, like it says Paris-Roubaix, Liège, Bastogne-Liège, World Championships. I would add Tour Down Under because you can also start your season in the TDU.
Well, Tour de France and so forth are the main focus for this game, and riding through the Tour de France before you watch it on TV is pretty cool, because I played this Mude Britannia stage a couple days ago on my PlayStation, on my PC, because it's a PlayStation game, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, but also PC. I played on the PC, and I gotta say, I might have cooked with Remco Evenepoel. Spoilers, because the video's not out yet, but I might have cooked my friend.
Okay.
But we will see if you cook in a couple days, because I've installed it on your PlayStation.
Exactly. I got it on PS5 ready to play tonight, actually.
That's going to be fun.
I can't wait. I'm not going to crash. That's like the main thing, not crashing, which in real life I struggle with. But yeah, in the first time ever, you can challenge your friends in multiplayer criterion mode. You can pick your team, strategize refueling like the pros. Maybe you want to do 120 grams carbs per hour and raise your arms at the finish line. And so the Tour de France 2025, if you're enjoying watching the tour, you'll enjoy playing it just as much. If you've got PS5, Xbox Series, or PC via Steam, you can download the game right now as you're listening to this podcast, and the link is in the description. So thanks to the Tour de France 2025 game for sponsoring today's episode. I had a siesta, Benji. I watched the Mets doubleheader last night, and then the intermediate sprint happened. Van der Poel didn't go for it. Milan, they tried to cook him on the uphill. He looked cooked. He was suffering. He still beat Binny. And then Haller got dropped from the breakaway, and we're entering the predictable phase of the race, which is peloton about a minute behind the breakaway of 4 riders: Thomas, Costu, Garcia Cortina, and Baudin, as they enter the village of the Mude Britannia. And we see a drag race there. Visma on the left-hand side. Quickstep on the right-hand side. Sivakov and UAE on the left, in the left middle. Albertson with a bit deeper with Van der Poel. And then the first Tour de Bretagne, Benji, Simon Philip Yates absolutely launches it with Vingegaard in the wheel. We see Almeida on a gap. Rodriguez has to close a gap. Were you surprised to see them pace so hard on that first Moor?
Not necessarily, because I feel like we saw a glimpse of what Visma Bike is trying to do in yesterday's stage. We saw Pogačar's interview after yesterday's stage where he was like, what the fuck is Visma Bike doing? He didn't say those exact quotes, but he made it sound like that for sure in Slovenian media. And what Visma Bike was doing yesterday, hard pacing the second last climb, that is for 1, 2, 3 reasons in yesterday's stage. First one was potentially getting Pogačar in the yellow jersey. They missed that by 1 second before the stage. But the other 2 reasons also apply to this stage. If Visma Bike on a puncture hill stage is trying to make the hills hard, they're doing that for 2 reasons. Number 1, they know that Pogačar and Vingegaard, if they arrive fresh at the Tour de Bretagne, Pogačar can drop Vingegaard. They know that. But if they make the race as hard as possible, then they are closing the gap in explosiveness a little bit. In doing so, making it possible for Jonas to potentially follow on Tour de Bretagne. So they're not necessarily with that strategy increasing their chances of victory in this stage, but they're increasing their chances of not losing as much time as they would if they arrive fresh at Tour de Bretagne. So that is what I see. Plus, we also saw yesterday in the stage that hard pace from Visma Bike reduced the amount of riders Pogačar had in the final hill to the finish line to just Joao Almeida, who was completely cooked. So if we translate that to this stage, then it's not shocking to me that Visma Bike hard paces that second last climb. They're trying to reduce the explosiveness of Pogačar and reduce his lead out in the process to try and decrease the chance that Pogačar drops Jonas on the last climb.
Well, maybe it does nothing to Pogačar, but yeah, we saw yesterday like the Visma pace on the 2 climbs meant Almeida was dropped, so maybe there's weakness in Almeida. Is he getting sick? He looked a bit suspect in break formation. He
was literally leaning onto the team bus after the stage yesterday out of tiredness, so he was definitely cooked.
And normally Almeida looks bad in these finishes, but he's pacing himself and then he comes back and actually doesn't lose time. Yesterday, he actually lost time. He lost 5 seconds and he was on 12 seconds on a very short climb. So maybe it hurts Almeida. But yeah, Yates paces. UAE got the same numbers though. Wellens and Narvaez are there. Adam Yates looks really, really good. He's coming back into it quite well. Kostiou survives from the breakaway. He's only 20 seconds over the top, and then quite an entertaining phase of the race begins for 5 minutes. It's big roads, by the way. So this is not the same as Rouen. This is not the same as Stage 2. The Tour de Bretagne is much less technical. It's way wider roads, rolling, and this false start downhill. It's really hard to get away, and Van Aert attacks. Vauquelin goes in the wheel. I think his DS would have been maybe not happy with that. I don't know how. Maybe he just followed the wheel and it was no effort, and then he's freewheeling, in which case free time, happy days. Haig goes with them, and there's a gap. Wellens closes it, but there was a period of time with Van Aert pacing. Arkea had a satellite rider. They had Kostiou ahead. I was like, are they going to start?
Wow.
Are they going to start pulling? Even in the breakaway, but it was quite entertaining.
It was an entertaining idea, but realistically, Kostiou was just 20 seconds ahead by the top of that first Tour de Bretagne, was still ahead when that Wout Vauquelin move happened, and I don't think Vauquelin was thinking about Kostiou that much, and I don't think Kostiou was thinking about Vauquelin too much either. Kostiou was trying to survive from the leftovers of the breakaway. Vauquelin was trying to maybe see, is there an opportunity here? Do I really want to spend the effort in this downhill before the final Tour de Bretagne? Probably not. So that Wout group gets caught back by Tim Wellens, who's now pacing. He paced over the top of Tour de Bretagne. He's trying to control the situation. That's exactly what's happening. And from this point onwards, we've got about an 8-kilometer valley towards the final climb. And in the valley itself, not too much happened. It's kind of a drag race, not really either, because the teams are relatively limited at this point. But we see UAE taking control with Wellens for most of this time, and we're heading towards the final Tour de Bretagne. But Visma Bike takes over before the final Tour de Bretagne. Wout van Aert comes to the front. We've got Benoit in the wheel, then Jonas Vingegaard, then maybe Simon Yates in the wheel, Jorg sitting a bit further. That was my assumption of the order of things. And we've got this important right corner just before Tour de Bretagne. And before that right corner, Wout van Aert loses momentum on the left side. In doing so, going off the front. And at that same moment, we see UAE moving up on the right side with Tim Wellens. And just before that corner, Tim Wellens just straight up blitzes past them. Benoit is not fast enough to respond either. So Tim Wellens takes control before Muur de Bretagne. That was super impressive.
Did you talk about the crash?
We did not talk about the crash yet. Super important.
So yeah, in that drag race beforehand, as I said, it was a wide road, but actually there was a big crash at the midway third on the left-hand side of this, not a peloton, a group of 30 that had been jostling for position. Van der Poel had been back there. He'd moved up. Van Aert had moved up. Pogačar had moved up. Only as well. Warren Barguil. Shout out to Picnic Post-Nel. I mean, them and Arkea completely outperforming expectations for this week one.
Arkea riders.
4 Arkea riders in Group 1. Barguil's been outstanding for Only this week. But there's a crash at the back. It looks like Schelmoser had to wait a little bit. Almeida loses his front wheel. Haig goes down. Almeida goes down. Buitrago. Masters caught up. Healy caught up. A lot of riders are caught up. Astana is as well, maybe Tejada. And Haig and Buitrago looked the worst of it. Haig, I think, definitely a DNF. So thoughts with him and his recovery. And because he indeed crashed in this region in 2021, I think. And then Santi looked bad, continued. Almeida, I called it. I try to be a collarbone expert, and me and you thought he was out because normally when a rider crashes, goes to the side of the road, sits down, and then holds one hand like this with the other arm, they've broken their collarbone, shoulder, or wrist.
Yeah. I thought he broke his wrist and was out of the race. The way he was sitting there.
Yeah, the way he was just like, ooh, something's not right. I'm done. He just had to collect himself. He does get back on the bike. Almeida finishes on 10 minutes. Hopefully he's okay. He looked okay at the finish.
Yeah.
But then we didn't see him riding. Maybe if you can't grip the bars with your left hand tomorrow, that's still tricky. But they just need him to get through this week. But still, that's a big blow for Pogačar because in theory, Almeida's better than any climber on Visma but Vingegaard.
Yeah, that is very true. We've seen Almeida throughout this race already be super impressive on stage 4, for example.
Exactly.
Yes, yesterday he was in trouble a bit by the end, but I would say that Almeida is probably, together with Wellens, the most important rider in the team, and Soler has been super impressive as well, Poel as well, but I'd say together with Wellens, the most important rider in the team, especially when we go to the mountains, then it switches. Then it switches to Almeida being the most important rider in the team. Unless Adam Yates steps up, which he's looking a little bit better, but he's not looking better enough to be super hyped towards the mountains that, okay, he's just going to replace Almeida. But also, as a hidden secret Almeida fan, nobody knows this that is watching this podcast, but I may or may not have a small heart for Joao Almeida. I am really sad to see him crash like that, lose 10 minutes in GC, and I fear that he might not start tomorrow, but then again at the finish line...
We got 2 sprint stages.
Yeah, but if he can't use his hand...
Yeah, and there's crosswinds.
Let's hope it looked worse than it is.
It was strange because when we saw him sitting at the side, we were both like, he's done.
Yeah.
Then when we saw the crash, he crashed really well. He really took the crash well. Haig crashes and sticks.
Yeah.
Santi crashed and sticks. Almeida did the full tuck and rolled a few times. Now, maybe it's 65 k's an hour. It's only so well you can crash, but looked like he crashed well. But yeah, then he finished. So we'll see tomorrow. I think he'll try to start and then see how he can get through the stage, but we'll wait for the medical report there. Indeed, but what Benji mentioned, Tim Wellens, MVP again. I think he's been the most important rider for Pogačar this week as a totality. Yeah. I know Almeida's done a good job on certain moments. I know Narvaez has done a good job even in this stage. But as a totality of controlling the race, even in break formation, Wellens has been outstanding. And Van Aert waits too long. Soler pulls off. Van Aert waits too long to pull through. Wellens jumps him, waves over Visma into the right-hand corner. Vingegaard's off the wheel. Benoit has to drag them back. Wellens starts absolutely sending it on the bottom of this climb. Benoit it's then Remco on Pogačar's wheel. Wellens super hard lead out. Van der Poel's gone from the bottom. Already gone. There's already splits. And Pogačar attacks. He does attack with Remco in the wheel. Vauquelin's closing it. But he looks down and he's not going anywhere. And what they did...
What a description.
Well, it
looks like it. But if we then look at the situation on the road, we see 3 riders basically, right? We see Pogačar, Remco in the wheel of Pogačar, and then Jonas in the wheel of Remco, and that is because in the lead out towards his Muur de Bretagne, after that corner, Vingegaard was not in the wheel of Pogačar. And I think that's partially the reason that Pogačar goes so early on the climb, because Vingegaard's not in his wheel.
Well, no, Wellens was done.
He was, yeah, but was Narvaez still there?
Yeah, but way back.
Okay.
Pogačar couldn't know if Narvaez was dropped or not.
Okay, fair. But that Pogačar move, it wasn't like the ultra attack that we're necessarily used to when it comes to Pogačar, because otherwise I would expect Vingegaard to follow and maybe Remco to switch towards riding his own tempo. Even though it's a 2-kilometer climb, I still expect that to happen. On this moment, Remco was following and he looked actually relatively comfortable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Remco again picks like the game theory, like non-optimized option, which is to just pace Pogačar and Vingegaard, whilst the sort of guys who are not his threats are behind. Remember, Almeida's out for GC, so the podium for Remco is looking... Oh, he's a heavy favorite to podium, frankly. It's hard to argue for someone else if he doesn't collapse.
But on like when they're riding with three, and Remco paces with Jonas and Tadej, I could argue that he's saying, okay, Lipovic, Roglic, those riders are behind, I'm going to pace for that reason. Because in the mountains, if he's the worst climber of the three, he will lose more than the advantage he has at the moment.
But he isn't pacing all out.
I agree.
He's not pacing all out to the point where...
he doesn't know what to do.
I think you choose one of two options. You pace all out, you say, whatever I do, Pogačar's winning this stage.
Yeah.
And so I may as well just secure third for Bonies and secure my time gap to the guys behind me, Vauquelin and the others. Option B, stop, sit in the wheel, actually attack, or wait for the others to come back, recover, and then attack on the plateau. Because remember, the last 500 meters of this climb is 2%.
Yeah.
The aero bullet is hard to bring back on 2%. And I think just pacing at 95% where the other group is still coming back to you, it doesn't really achieve anything.
I fully agree with you. And to me, I would have liked to see the second strategy that you mentioned. If in this three-man group, Remco goes to the back and tries to go, will Pogačar close it? Will Vingegaard close it? I would expect him to be close because Pogačar would really want the stage.
Pogačar will close it
after UAE pacing the stage, you know?
Ask the question.
Exactly.
Ask the question.
And especially when the group comes back, then he stays at the front, maybe goes into second wheel once Narvaez goes to the front of the group. But I'm sorry, staying in the second wheel of Narvaez or being at the front in the first place, what is that going to achieve? You're just going to go to a sprint and you're most likely going to lose a sprint against Pogačar from this group? I would much rather prefer to see Remco move back a little bit, move behind Tadej and Jonas, because then you're in the position where you can surprise them.
Benji, I'm watching 900 meters to go. I'm telling you, over the crest, Pog was going to bluff with Vingegaard. Under the Flamme Rouge, Pogačar looks back and he lets the wheel of Remco go and he's looking back and he's sort of half keeping it, but then at 920, yeah, it was really, really strange. Like the way Remco rides that phase is just
the final kilometer in total.
Oh, well, the last 500. This stage is over at 850 to go.
I disagree with you. Once Narvaez gets to the front,
it's over.
If Remco gets to the wheel of Pogačar and Jonas, he can still try something.
No, I disagree because he gets put on a gap in a sprint and Narvaez puts it so hard that he was dropping guys. I think where Narvaez has like an RPE indicator where you're looking at him and you're like, fuck, he doesn't look like he's trying very hard. And then you look at the back of the group and there's guys dropping on 2% and it's in a line.
Yeah.
So I think at 850 to go, the stage is over.
I don't really agree with you. I think it's possible to move to the third position in that three-man group. I think it's possible to move to P4 in that large group.
Why does he take Narvaez wheel at 800?
Exactly. That makes no sense sitting in second position. Because then you can never surprise Pogačar in the sprint, nor you can attack them early. Because you're never going to win from second position against Pogačar who's behind you.
You're right. It makes no sense.
But that being said, I agree that he might not have the energy to make that attack if he gets out of the saddle to sprint and then immediately has to go back in the saddle.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't make sense to go into second position.
And he's the one that was pacing after Pogačar's attack on the front. Anyway, Narvaez does an absolutely outstanding job. He puts it in a line. He stops any Only, Goal, Jorgensen, Remco, Vokaland attack, and he really starts to wind this up. And in the last couple of 100 meters, even when it levels off, nobody could do anything. Pogačar goes reasonably long. Vingegaard in the wheel. Evenepoel got surprised from behind, and he doesn't come third in this stage. But Pogačar wins again his second stage in this year's Tour de France in the rainbow bands. Vingegaard on the wheel, a gap of 2 seconds to Oscar Only behind, who did very, very well. Again, takes, of course, the 4 bonus seconds. Felix Goal fourth. I guess that shows that this was a sprint of how fresh you were, frankly. Then that Felix Goal comes fourth because he absorbed the climb very well. Jorgensen fifth. Evenepoel sixth. Vokaland seventh. Narvaez eighth. Laurence ninth. He just blew up a little bit at the end, but I would say that's quite a good result. Johannesson 10th on 21 seconds. These are proper gaps now. With 21 seconds to Schkelmoser, Lipovic, Carlos Rodriguez, Roglic. Enric Mas was also involved in the crash. I have no fucking idea how Enric Mas ends on only 51 seconds. He must have done the quickest Tour de Bretagne of all these guys, and I'm calling Enric to win the Tour now because how is he finished only on 51 seconds?
That is ridiculous. Like, you got to keep in mind, it's not just a climbing.
No, they had a false start downhill.
They had a whole lead out to the climb. From first to Wout van Aert, then Wellens goes into the corner, stuff like that. Mas was riding alone that entire time.
That was crazy.
Garcia Cortina, was he still there? Maybe he could have waited? No, eh? He was caught on the climb and drop maybe on the previous Tour de Bretagne?
No.
Or did he make it over the crests? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Where did he finish? I think he was way back.
I finished in Narnia.
He finished on 8th.
Romeo maybe helped? I don't know.
Well, no, they're on.
I didn't see
They're
him.
on 4 mins. They're on 4 mins.
Yeah.
They're not in the game. No, I think Enric's just.
You were shitting on Enric Mas a week and a half ago, buddy.
No.
After the Andorra Moraban Classic in your back garden, you were like, Enric Mas, race IQ minus 1,000.
Oh yeah, that was a shameful throw. That was like Archie Ryan. I love him, but fuck me in Austria today. He paced Del Toro for 5 minutes in his wheel behind August. Still good to see Archie going well. Pogačar wins, Benji, as was expected. I think with Van der Poel not there, this is all he had to do. It's what we said before. When we saw Van der Poel on the first Tour de Bretagne, we both said, like, well, if Van der Poel's not competitive and Pogačar has by far the quickest sprint, he can just keep the team around him a bit longer and do this on easy mode and just take the sprint W, and that's exactly what happened. Were you surprised that his attack wasn't more forceful to put Remco or Vingegaard in the red?
I think he just wants to win the stage, and I don't think he cares whether it's a sprint of 10 people or whether he does it doing solo, because you know how I see this Tour de France. I said it in the preview, and I haven't changed my opinion since. Tadej Pogačar since 2024 is a rider where I do not see weaknesses in the span of a Grand Tour in terms of he's the best climber, he's the best puncher on these stages, stuff like that. In a time trial, he doesn't lose enough time to be able to have danger, especially to Vingegaard. We saw that. Now, team-wise, he also has, together with Visma, a super strong team. So that is also an indicator. Now, with Almeida potentially gone, that's something that changes. We'll see what happens there. But I gotta say, I don't think Pogačar needs to overextend or find his limits in a stage like Tour de Bretagne. If on paper, he knows that he's the best climber, and on paper, he can take more than just 10 seconds on Vingegaard in the mountain stages, based on what we've seen in the last 1.5 years, because we've never seen Vingegaard do the watts that Tadej Pogačar did in the 2024 Tour de France, and Pogačar looks like he's on that level of the Tour de France 2024. So if we look at that, then Tadej Pogačar is the clear favorite. Now, can I give a controversial take? I think Visma Leasebike is very happy after this stage. I think losing 0 seconds on the road and losing just the delta of 4 seconds in bonus seconds, and since they seemingly believe that making the race as hard as possible is increasing for Vingegaard's chances of victory, then they hit all the boxes they wanted in today's stage. Yes, Pogačar wins the stage, but that was inevitable from the peloton, in my opinion. Pogačar was always going to win from the peloton.
Yeah. I mean, Pog was the heavy favorite. I mean, Van der Poel was the second favourite, but yeah, it's on this sort of finish with the way modern cycling is, with the first Motor Britannia being paced so hard. Yeah, this is expected, and I think to lose bonies in the end. I mean, even if Vingegaard won the stage and took 4 bonus seconds, which wasn't happening, like Pogačar has a 1. Let's do revised GC. Pogačar has a gap now where he doesn't need to attack on this climb.
Yeah.
He just needs to win the stage. He has 1:17 on Vingegaard. I mean, Vingegaard would need to beat him in this situation, by my maths, 20 times yes, in 20 stages in a row to overhaul that deficit. I mean, this tour will still be decided in the mountains, but the revised GC, Pogačar goes into the yellow jersey. This time, Van der Poel, I can't see taking it back. He's on, Evenepoel's on 54 seconds in second, Kevin Vogler on 1:11 in third, Vingegaard on 1:17 in fourth, Van der Poel drops to fifth on 1:29, Jorgensen on 1:34, then Oscar Onley moves up 4 spots to 2:49 because of his gap on Lipovic, Roglic and Schellmoser, who round out the top 10. Almeida, he's out of GC. He's on 12 minutes now.
I just hope he stays in the race. Also, how influential is Almeida not being in the UAE team for the mountain stages? Quite influential. Because on the side of Jonas Vingegaard, Simon Yates has been pretty solid in the last 2 days. He looked a bit shit in the first couple of stages. He lost quite a bit of time in those, especially in the echelon stage on stage 1, like 6 minutes. But yesterday, being able to bridge to the breakaway with Michael Storer, stuff like that, that shows that he has something. The way he hard-paced the first Motor Britannia today, that's a solid level. Sepp Kuss has been invisible so far, crashed as well, so that's the one where he needs to step up in the mountains for Visma Lease, but I also don't expect to see Sepp Kuss in the first week of this Tour de France, so I don't know whether it's on purpose that he's not performing in this first week to keep him for the last 2 weeks to make sure he survives the first week of the Tour de France, because he might be valuable there, but I also haven't seen Sepp Kuss at a high level that much since the Vuelta 2023, so I'm a bit worried there. If I look at UAE, Adam Yates is a bit of a question mark. We've seen an okay level the last 2 days, but
Yates is back.
He's back?
No, actually, that's not.
I don't think back.
I can't tell because like Wellens surprised everybody with the lead out, then it split it, and then he couldn't do the lead out. So, like,
I just think it's a difference between puncher stage and mountains.
Yeah, although on San Luca, Yates was nuclear last year.
Yeah.
Maybe Yates has just declined 2%.
Yeah.
And that's what we've also seen this year. He still won Oman, but he didn't win the stage. And he still was pretty good in the Giro, but not spectacular. He's still good in Torino, but not winning like at his peak. So maybe he's just declined a bit. But to be honest, Benji, we haven't had... This is the longest climb we've done the race.
Yeah.
I may just made that up, but
you definitely made that up.
This 5-minute climbs is kind of the max so far. The only longer effort, which is, by the way, we've had all these exciting stages, all these sprints, gaps, etc. At the end of the day, the flat TT, without too much excitement, where Remco won and Pogačar took a huge gap, that is disproportionately what is making the GC position between Remco, Jonas, and Pogačar right now. Not these stages or bonus seconds.
I agree, and I also think that in the mountain stage it will be about minutes and not just a minute 20 whatever.
Exactly.
But I do see if Almeida continues, he might not continue at the highest level from the get-go. He might have to get back into it after being in pain for the next couple of days, stuff like that. But if he does not continue, if he abandons before tomorrow, which nobody's hoping, to be clear, I've said it earlier, then that is a massive impact to the UAE team, and that makes Visma Leasebike's team on paper in the mountains better.
Yeah.
Than UAE.
With Simon Yates looking better, that seems to be the case. Tomorrow's stage, it is... I don't think there's any easy stage because for Almeida, like it's not like he's trying to get back in GC anymore.
Yeah.
Stage 8 from Saint-Maine-le-Grand to Laval, Espace Mayenne. That's where Pogačar won the Stage 5 TT in 2021. It is a very, very flat stage. I don't think we'll see any breakaway because there's no categorized climbs until a category 4 with 18 Ks left. The intermediate sprint is 85 Ks into the stage. The finish is they do 2 laps of the Laval circuit beginning at 6 Ks to go. I think the 5 Ks to go, I pray to God, is taken at the top of the hill. The first hill for the GC gaps, and then the final straight is 1.3 Ks at 3%. It's a good finish for Bini. It's a good finish for... Does Van der Poel go for this? It is uphill, Benji.
Ooh, it makes it interesting, right? I think
Yeah.
yes. Then again, Groves is also good on a finish like this.
And Merlier.
Oh, kind of feel like it might actually be Groves instead of Van der Poel.
Anyway, Milan, all the sprinters will go for it. They've got 2 of the last 4 sprint stages remaining coming this weekend. Quite curious that the stages, it's because it's public holiday on Monday. So stage 10 is on Monday rather than a rest day because that's a public holiday in France. I can't go past Tim Merlier, Benji.
Okay.
I know Catania's sick or injured. He looked bad
Wait.
today.
Are you looking at this map?
DNF. Catania's out, according to Luke.
Okay. I believe Luke. But then again, in his opinion, Pogačar didn't attack. He just upped the tempo, which in Pogačar's level, he can probably attack way harder than he did. So I think that's a fair assumption actually by Luke. Nonetheless, in today's final, in tomorrow's final, you look at the map and you see Knokke Heist. Is that what you see? Or
I
Merlier?
just think Merlier sprinting uphill's too good.
Okay. I
don't. It's not like Knokke Heist, which is like
you're right.
it's more like what's the one? Knokke Course.
To me, it feels a lot like stage 1 of the UAE Tour without the hills that drop Merlier.
Nah, that was 6%, 7%
The last 300 meters is 6%.
of this.
Yeah.
Really, I should look at the profiles.
Right. Am I looking wrong?
Benji's. Oh no,
No, that's the wrong climb. You're right.
but Benji's right. It gets progressively steeper. There is like a 6% 150 meter part, but then it levels off.
Yeah.
Mm,
I have a hard time seeing Bert van Lebbringen put Merlier in the right position on this.
oh, it kind of looks like Van der Poel, doesn't it? On that steep kicker.
Jonathan Milan wins tomorrow.
Okay, you're going Milan. I'm going Merlier. It might be too hard for him, but I think it's an easier stage. I don't know about the wind direction, but yeah, I'm going for him. And then we'll see if Almeida starts or makes it through. So yeah, a pretty good stage today. Maybe we expected a bit more different GC action. I think the most pivotal thing in the end is indeed the Almeida injury for the rest of the race, because he was a podium candidate, and maybe we were going to see in the mountains, could he have taken third? But yeah, that GC's gone, and we'll see if he starts tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Pogačar takes his 101st victory, and we'll see you with stage 8 tomorrow. Ciao, ciao, ciao.